Hi everyone, this is Margie. This is the video presentation on the paper that I'm putting together for our final project. First of all, I'd just like to begin with a preface that my project is still in the drafting stage, and as such, I'm still integrating my research, strengthening the argument, and looking forward to any thoughts, perspectives, opinions that you guys might have. As far as my topic goes, ultimately I've been pretty disquieted throughout the whole semester about the role of the humanist in digital humanities. But further, not just the humanist, but the role of a non-coder humanist. So it's from this perspective that I'm going to tackle this project. And it seemed like a good opportunity to sort of jump into the fray and start looking into the role of the human non-coder and defend our value in the digital humanities while the discipline is still undergoing its designing, designation, and defining stages. Of course, my argument is going to be in favor of the human non-coder, and I believe that we are inherently necessary both in digital humanities' present iterations as well as helping to shape its future development and assure that it accomplishes its mission as the field continues to grow. Granted, the topic seems a little unwieldy on first consideration. However, I thought it made a lot of sense to frame the argument around the 4 stages of a hypothetical tool's creation. In this way, I can guide the argument for the value of the humanistic non-coder through each of the steps involved in the creation and use of digital humanity tools and prove our value throughout that process. The reason I decided to approach it from this perspective is twofold. One, because I think it not only reifies our value throughout the tool making and tool using process, but it also allows the flexibility in which virtually any tool, be it topic modeling, InfoVis, mapping, archiving, text encoding, etc., can be palimpsestically read and understood through this framework. I also think, secondly, that there is the gap that exists between the digital and the humanities as a discipline lies in the very tools themselves. So therefore, if the tools are the bridge between the digital and the humanity and keeps them connected, or arguably in some cases disconnected, then it seems to me that's where a locus of critical discourse should, present itself and intersect. So basically my argumentative approach is going to be modeled after the modeling process of actually making a digital humanities tool. I've got about 13 different researchers that I'm working with so far. I'm sure that's going to have to be pared down a little bit, but I'm trying to maintain engagement with some of the heavy hitters in the field, like Lou Kirschenbaum, Fitzpatrick, Spiros, Fenson. As for the overview of the paper itself, generally I'm starting with just a little bit of background personal information, just to clarify my personal background and also make transparent my interest in this topic. And then I go through and actually describe the value of the humanistic non-coder in the development, design, beta testing, and reliability studies of a digital humanities tool. So basically, the personal intro that I'm starting with, I'm an admitted newcomer to the sandbox of the digital humanities. I've been circling around it with all of you, looking at all of the different iterations of the discipline, its ever-evolving ideologies, practices, epistemologies, heuristics, tools, manifestos, and certainly a lot of critical discourse. So while I've been circling around and sort of studying all of this, I realized that there is a mixture of excitement and enthusiasm, but also some despair at points, frustration, confusion, desire. Additionally, I'm also a humanist. I'm one of the many H's in the DH field. While inarguably traditional, my education just screams for the human, for what is humanity, for how we experience and document what being human is in the pluralistic sense, both as an individual and as a species in general. I'm also a digital immigrant. I've had basically half of my life with technology and half of my life without the digital. Indeed, at one point, which seems like a past life now altogether, I actually went to ECPI and graduated. This is like in the late 1980s. With a degree in office coding, tech specialist, or some such designation. And in any event, none of the coding or tools or anything that I had played with then is even in use anymore. So I think it's arguably safe to say that I am also a non-coder in today's contemporary digital environment. So essentially, both as a humanist and a non-coder, I find myself asking, what is it that I have to offer the field of digital humanities? What can I bring into the sandbox? What tools or equipment can I bring that will allow me to build some castles or help my playmates build their castles? And so that's sort of how I arrived at this question. And I think that it's highly relevant, particularly now when the humanities in general seem to be under attack because there's so much of a focus on vocational and business training, science majors, and things like that. Indeed, professors in the humanities are pretty much marginalized in much of the academy still, and I think part of the reason for that is because of that coding divide. So basically, to these ends, I'm trying to argue for the value of the humanistic non-coder, and by framing it in the narrative of an actual theoretical tools construction, I think we can theoretically then overlay or superimpose whatever tool it is we happen to be discussing, whether it be an InfoVis or a topic modeling, or one that has yet to be constructed at this point. I began the argument by talking about the design and conceptualization phase. Of course, the humanist who is a non-coder needs to collaborate with a coder to help them understand what it is that we're actually hoping to achieve. We need to help the coder understand what the data is that we're using, what our artifact is, what form it is, what are the parameters we're seeking, and working collaboratively with our coders, we can then guide them in parsing out the information that we seek in a manner that makes it not only possible, but is also well understood by the coders. During the construction of the actual tool, the coder again will likely need our assistance. They'll probably have ideas of their own that they'd like to contribute or aspects they feel are important, such as the interactivity of the platform, its visual representation, whether it can be used for just this individual project or how they can make it valuable for widespread usage. Ultimately, we want something that the coder is also going to be proud to put his name on and put out there into the world. During the accretion of data or the beta testing phase, as the data starts to stream in, we can then begin analyzing these outputs and deciding if in fact we've achieved the results we're seeking. It could be done collaboratively on beta runs. We can run perhaps simultaneous studies where the traditional non-coding humanist runs a small study on their own in the traditional manner side by side with the beta program and then see how these results compare. This would also allow us to work with our coders to scrutinize the tool and see where we can tweak it and that sort of thing. When the tool then has passed the beta, we can get into some reliability and usability testing. And there, once we in the coder have determined that the tool can perform the functions we've desired, and the coder also feels confident that they've created a workable and flexible program that hopefully can be used by their scholars, we can then start trying it out on larger data sets, on larger corpus of data. After, of course, we've run through this and we run it on large data sets, we then get to the fourth phase, which is reliability and usability testing. And at this point, once our coders have determined that the tool can do the things that we want, we can then put the program through its paces. We can try testing out on different data sets, retest it on the same data sets to see if it yields the same information for reliability assurance and this sort of thing. Test out its usability functions. There's also where we could pull in some of the potential
disabled users and this sort of thing, and make sure that both the coding and the information that it's gathering is, reliable and usability. Further, this also pushes us a bit more into the realms of quantitative epistemology that the digital-sided folks of the digital humanities prefer working with. So ultimately, it seems to me by modeling the value of the humanistic non-coder through the actual creation of a hypothetical tool, any tool at all be superimposed in this model, and our value is thus demonstrated and reassured throughout the entire process. The humanistic non-code then ultimately has the ability to engage at the point of intersection between the digital and the humanity. Between the 10 and the 8 lies the tool, and the humanistic non-coder then is able to engage, collaborate with our coders, and this will allow us to create tools that are not only usable, it also promotes the value of the humanist non-coder, also increases the chances of creating tools that will bring other non-coders in the digital humanity into 4A, add their inputs, their data, and make them more likely to engage. In fact, a non-coder helped that ensures and further get a whole community of digital human star on the face currently hand. Also